And I'll have a roll call vote. Nichols
Yes.
and Bayuk.
Yes.
And Kate, you can take over the meeting because that passes 2-0 to 1, or 2-0 to 1.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay, so our next order of business will be to nominate a clerk. Bill, do you have any thoughts?
Nominate a clerk. I'm sorry, can you?
So it's more of a formality for the board at this point because we do have somebody who takes wonderful minutes for us. But generally speaking, I think that normally we would nominate Brian. Yeah.
Okay, I nominate Brian Boyle for clerk.
Second. Roll call vote, Bill.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So
I'll let him know that you nominated him to take all the minutes going forward.
I was confused by that because I know Jenny takes great minutes. So,
yeah, well, Brian's just lucky he didn't get elected chair. So, all right. The next item on our agenda is a town meeting review with our town moderator and town clerk. And I see both Doug Story and Kristen Zinna. So, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hello.
So just to open it up, I thought that that town meeting went pretty smoothly this year, especially compared to some of the challenges that we had last year. But Kristen, do you want to walk us through your thoughts from your perspective on how things went?
Yeah, so I think this year, again, I wasn't outside to see check-in. I know we had a lot less people with only 164 check-ins this year versus the over 500 last year. And that helped the process along. We tried to set the tables up differently to help that go a little bit smoother. Didn't exactly work the way I wanted it to due to the electrical outlets not being in the right places, but I think it worked okay for those that were outside. So thank you to the staff that helped me outside. I think it did go a little bit better this year. I think due to the less attendees.
Anything that you would think we need to work on differently for next year from your perspective?
I would like to try to figure out getting the table set up a little bit differently. I think having an extra person out there to direct people where to go is certainly helpful. So we'll do that again next year. The earlier people can come. We stated that check-in would begin around 6:30, as opposed to having 200-300 people try to join and come into the building all at the same time at 10 minutes of 7 was really tough last year. So check-in can begin at 6:30. Get your clicker, get your seat, and be ready for town meeting.
Great, thank you. Doug, thoughts from your perspective?
I thought the meeting went very well. I was very happy to see that everybody got in, in time for us to start the meeting on time. Again, you're right, Chris, and the number of people coming, ultimately is a big part of that. But I think you had a good setup there and get people in, and we had our initial check, and we had 2 people who had problems with their clickers. We got those resolved quickly, and we were able to start pretty much on time, which I think is great. My one takeaway in terms of how I moderated the meeting was that I feel like I let people go on a little too long in some of their dialogues that they had on the school budget. Certainly, my job is to moderate the meeting, and I want everyone to have their say, and I want everyone to be able to speak. But it's incumbent on me to try and keep that to a reasonable time frame. And I think probably there were a couple of people who went on longer than 5 minutes, and ultimately we want to keep it to 2 minutes per speaker. So that's something I'm going to try to work on better in the future in terms of, trying to keep people in line with, there's a time limit here. You're not here to just say whatever you want to say for as long as you can say. You got to have a concise statement. But otherwise, I thought the meeting went really well, and was happy that we were able to use the voice vote to move it along faster. I am not opposed to that at all. I think when people are willing to vote by voice, that actually is faster. So, happy to use that as an option. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I make a comment on that?
Sure.
Sure, Jenny.
Because I've heard some feedback from a few residents that feel that they are less inclined to vote honestly or to vote from their heart when using a voice vote versus the clicker. One bit of feedback that I have. The second bit of feedback unrelated to that was about the clickers that weren't working. For next year, I will ask Travis to keep the vote open during the entire time that we're doing the voting test, because at the end, neither of those clickers was dysfunctional. It's just that the vote had been closed by the time they pressed the button. So those are my 2 points of feedback.
One
Thanks,
other
Danny.
quick thing, if I may, regarding the clickers, if we could also sort of, I know the voice vote helps, just to sort of understand when we are going to use them next year. Have a discussion beforehand. We do there is a lot of work that goes into getting them set up, handing them out, collecting them. We did have one not return the night of the meeting, but we were able to get that back to town hall by Wednesday. I think he dropped it off. So there's a lot of work that goes into handling of the clickers before, during, and after the meeting. Well, I agree, the voice vote definitely sped the meeting up. Just if we could, if there's a way that, we would know how they're going to be used in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think it's sort of a delicate balance, right? I mean, there are some articles that you can just sense in the room really are pretty much unanimous, and it's really appropriate to have the voice votes. But I also see the other perspective of some, there were people who were asking questions on certain articles, especially towards the end. And yet we were hearing them be unanimous once the vote came through. So I think it's something we can think about in terms of how we figure out which ones are most appropriate for voice vote, because there's not a doubt in my mind that a lot of them really are appropriate, and it really speeds things up by several minutes each time, I think. So, I think that's something we should think about going forward.
If I can just add to that, I wouldn't have done that had it not been that we spent like an hour and a half talking about the school budget. So once we got, pretty deep into our time frame, it led me to feel like maybe we could, speed things up with a voice vote. If we were under a normal, the last couple of years where we've used the clickers on almost every vote, and gotten through the meeting within 2.5 to 3 hours, I think that's fine. And that's the process I would use typically. So this year, because we spent a tremendous amount of time on the budget, I was trying to, pick things up a bit, and it seemed like we had a good flow there. But I'm always willing to go to a voice vote. If anyone, I mean, I'm sorry, a clicker vote. If anyone would prefer that, that's fine, and that would be the standard if we were not in a, kind of behind the 8 ball in terms of where we were at that point in the meeting. We were at Article 4, and we were pretty far in.
Yeah.
And Doug, what are your thoughts on moving Article 4 to deeper into the night, like Article 10, Article 12?
I mean, I'm a traditionalist. It's always been early, and I like
Yeah.
it. And I don't mind that we spend a lot of time on it. I think we should.
Mhm.
I'm happy to do that. I think it should be, frankly, a major part of the meeting. Uh,
The reason why I asked is because obviously you have people leave after Article 4.
yeah,
And I was surprised at some of the later articles. It seemed like there wasn't, people were tired.
yeah.
And I think some of the later articles would have received more attention if they were earlier in the night.
Well, that's certainly true. I mean, and I don't want to be in your position to have to decide where each article is going to fall. But um, capital articles like the two big trucks that were, obviously large items,
Yeah.
that were later in the meeting, and uh, you could move those up. But I think the budget is always going to be one of the focal points. Now, most meetings, there's some other article that's pretty important that people hang out for. So I think the fact that a lot of people left after that article, was a factor of two things we didn't really have too many controversial articles this year. And
Mhm.
also that, that was the one people really wanted to put their energy into. And and I feel badly when anybody leaves. I'd like them to stay for the whole meeting, and I want to keep the meeting moving along so that people feel like it's worth being there for the whole meeting. But
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but my opinion would be not to move it back.
Well, you've run a lot of these meetings, so I wanted to just get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it would also be difficult to put capital items before the budget, you know? Um, Maybe we could put zoning and that sort of stuff, but again, you never know what are,
It's tough.
yeah.
It's tough.
So, well, thank you both for all of the work that you put into it and everybody else at Town Hall and the volunteers who helped to make it go smoothly. I thought overall, it was an efficiently run meeting. So,
We were better off than the town of Brewster that started an hour before us and ended after midnight.
And I would also say thank you to Kristen and Jenny and Marie and everyone who put a ton of work into this. I'm always amazed how hard we work to get this to go well, and then at the end of the day, when it goes well, you feel good about it. So, uh, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Until next year or until the next meeting.
Yes.
Next meeting.
All righty. So the next item on our agenda is the sign waiver request for 146 Hudson Road. This is continued from our last meeting. I am looking to see, I do not see the applicant here. Let's see, it's a 7:15 agenda item. But if she is not here, I'd like to take her in order just because our next agenda item is going to be rather lengthy. But
I can
We
give her a
will-
quick call.
all right, we'll wait just one more minute because our next agenda item is going to be 20 or 25 minutes, I think. So.
She is on her way in.
Great, thank you, Jenny.
I feel like we should discuss town meeting, warrant article selected by, drawing from a hat, something, yeah.
There she is.
Hi, how are you? I'm really sorry. I have these five around me. I just haven't had the time.
No worries. So we're just picking up with the continuation of the sign waiver request for 146 Hudson Road.
Yes.
At our last meeting, we had asked that, our DPW director had suggested that a mock-up of the sign be constructed so that both the DPW and the board members could get a sense of exactly where it was going to be located, and what sort of size it would look like. So you are seeking waivers, both with regard to the maximum size of the sign, in excess of 16 square feet in the residential zone, as well as an exemption from the regular 20-foot setback from the pavement.
Yes.
I know I had a chance to go by it. I know our DPW director has gone by and given us some feedback. Bill, were you able to go through and take a look?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So I mean, I can give you my feedback, which is, I think the location seems to be fine. I don't think it impairs the visibility from either driveway, either the neighbor's driveway or from exiting your property. In terms of, I would not have an issue, I don't think, on reducing the setback to 10 feet from the pavement. But from my perspective, I really feel that there's really no reason to grant a waiver for a sign in excess of 16 square feet. It is a residential zone. It is a relatively small parcel of property, and it just struck me that it was a very large sign that you had mocked up there that I really thought was just a little bit larger than what I would like to see in that area. Bill, did you have thoughts that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I agree with you on the setback. The 10-foot setback seems fine. I didn't notice any impediment or public safety issue. And I agree with you on the size. I don't see a hardship, which would be required to have a waiver going from 16 feet to 20 feet, square feet.
Yeah. The only thing that I would like to point out is it's something that our DPW director pointed out. We're not exactly certain where the right of way is. So we would just want to make it clear that the town would not be responsible for any damage to the sign if it happened to be located in the right of way. I don't think that it is based on where it is on your property. I mean, I'm familiar with where the old sign was. So if your sign is in the right of way, then the old one was as well. And I just don't think that's the case. But in the event that it is, the town would not bear any responsibility for any damage. Bill, for the applicant?
No questions.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Um, are we gonna take these one at a time, Kate?
We can, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Motion to consider waiver from the code of the town of Bolton, 250-18, for 10-foot setback from pavement requested when 20 feet is required.
I will second that. So roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. And then is there a motion to grant an exemption from the 16 square foot requirement in a residential zone?
So moved.
I am not going to second that, because I think we talked about not, unless I misunderstood, but I think we would not be granting that exemption. Is that right, Bill? I mean, you,
Yes.
okay.
But don't we? Okay.
No, I think just if there's not a motion and it doesn't get approved, then there's no waiver.
Okay.
So is there a motion to approve the exemption for a sign in excess of 16 square feet? Okay, so I do not hear a motion on that. So you're approved for your 10-foot setback and a 16 square foot sign. And thank you very much. I know you did share your ribbon cutting ceremony, which is coming up. Do you want to let everybody?
Please make sure you guys come.
Please let everybody know when.
May 20th, lunch from the Bolton Beans. I wanted to locally cater everybody around. I'm also catering from the Dunkin' Donuts to donuts. I want to see you guys there. I would love to meet you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you froze up, at least for me, when you were saying when. So tell everybody when you're having your ribbon cutting.
So it's gonna be Wednesday, May 20th, from 12 to 2.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you then, and we look forward to your business being in town. So
I
thank you.
hope you guys can make it. It would be such an honor.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Kate. I appreciate it. Bill, thank you guys. Jenny, everybody, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay,
luck
have
to
a
you.
good night.
Take care. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is going to be a presentation by Gina Ash for the Keeping Lights On MA initiative. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Kate. Nice to see you again.
Good to
Hi,
see
Gina.
you.
Marie, good to see you. Bill, Jenny, nice to meet you in person. I've seen your names quite a lot the last few months. I am Gina Ash. I am the Chief Commercialization Officer. Long name, I'll explain what that is, for a company called NextGen Energy, and I'm representing the Keep Lights On Massachusetts initiative. I have sent you all a much longer presentation than we're going to go through tonight and some background materials. We only have about 15 minutes, and so rather than boring you with a long presentation, I just have a couple of slides that I thought would be representative of this opportunity. And I'm happy to talk offline or meet with any one of you that would like to have a deeper conversation. I live in Harvard, Mass. I spend much of my life in Bolton. Since we are right next door. I've been here almost, well over 25 years now. I've lost track at this point. Very involved with the town and lead our conservation trust here. And I was introduced to a really exciting opportunity for us. And so I would love to just share with you what Keeps Lights On Massachusetts is, and would love to have the town of Bolton join this initiative. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it. And then I'm going to go into, let's see if I can hit present here. Usually it lets me share my screen here. Desktop and share. So let me know if you all can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. Then I should be able to take it out of this mode so that you're not looking at everything else. Here we go. I see it. Okay, is that working for everyone?
Perfect.
Beautiful. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Keep Lights On Massachusetts. We actually began with a grant from the Department of Energy, a $250 million grant. It's one of the largest grants ever provided by the Department of Energy. It was under the Biden administration to help bring distributed energy resources to municipalities across the country. We piloted in Louisiana and are now moving to other states. We've targeted Massachusetts, and I've been part of that because I want this in our state. And this is a project that I have taken a lot of personal interest in. I'm not benefiting from it financially at all. I just really wanted to sponsor this in our state. And what we have done, the town of Harvard has taken the lead on this initiative. My company is supporting it, and we are putting together a multi-town consortium to bring fully financed, fast to deploy community microgrids to each of our communities. We have 351 municipalities in Massachusetts. We are starting with a cohort of 5 to 6 towns here in central Massachusetts that are going to receive some very special benefits. So I'm excited to bring this opportunity to you. The idea is that we would put 10 megawatts of clean energy generation in our towns. For us, it's solar panels. It is the most efficient, most economically feasible, and fastest for us to add. And we will also add 10 megawatts of long duration storage. I know that Bolton has invested already in backup generators to have resilience in your town. So I think for your town, this is very much about achieving very ambitious carbon transition goals that we all have, lowering our costs of electricity. We have the opportunity to lower costs in our town up to 50%. We pay the third highest electricity rates in the country. We are very vulnerable to lots of macro external factors that are out of our control. If we have the opportunity to stabilize and dramatically lower our energy costs, to achieve our climate transition goals, get onto clean fuels, and also to create a new revenue source for our towns is something that we are very excited about. These are called hero hubs. The towns that are looking at them right now, just so you know who else is involved, Harvard is leading. Air and Shirley have already joined. Lancaster is engaged. Berlin is engaged. We are in the process now of engaging with Northborough, Westborough, Marlborough, and Clinton. Do I have Clinton on here? And then there are a few others in our area that are targeted. And as I mentioned, the first 5 to 6 that join the Keep Lights On Mass initiative, we're going to receive some very special benefits, I think, just to really help us get this initiative off the ground statewide. This is something that our governor is really supporting. It has a bill, not she, we have a bill in the state now working through our Senate and House to mandate that 20% of our energy in the state is going to come from distributed energy resources. So we're really leading the charge here. And the way that these work is that we will put these together as one larger virtual power plant. So think about 5 or 6 of our towns, each putting this energy generation source into our towns and having the battery backup storage in our towns, and they're connected as a virtual power plant. And rather than having one 10 megawatt facility in each of our towns, we would have 50 or 70 megawatts. And by putting them together in this Keep Lights On Massachusetts initiative, it allows us to get incredible economies of scale as far as procuring our solar panels and our batteries. It allows us to get financing that we could never get on our own. And what's beautiful about this is that it will be fully financed. The only expense that our towns will have to pay is for a small feasibility study so that we can assess what technology combination works best for your town, where to put it, where to site it, and we'll take your recommendations, put together the full CapEx plan, the financial plan. And our modeling shows that the towns will likely generate in excess of $1.2 to $1.5 million per year in revenue. So the way we're thinking about this is if your town needs anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 megawatts of energy to run your municipal buildings every year, that will be our core solar energy that's brought into our towns. And then the excess will be sold into the grid. So you can see here it connects into the grid, sold into the marketplace, and that revenue will come to your town for 15, 20, 25 years. So it has the potential of bringing our towns upwards of $25 million. So the way that this is structured is that we will finance it with large green banks. We have equity partners, we have debt partners, and they will provide the money to allow us to build these projects. Each one of these hero hubs in our towns is roughly costs about $30 million each. So the way that we finance those and pay them back is that we pay them over the first 5 years. So when these get placed in service, we sign a power purchase agreement with the fund. The town of Bolton is a limited partner in this fund, as are the green banks. And at year 5, so the first 5 years, we pay off these investors. We get a little bit of the cash flow. We get significantly cheaper electricity from day one for our towns. So think of in the teens instead of the 20 cents per kilowatt. And then at year 5, those investors, they go away. The assets are then transitioned and the town owns them. And then, so the town of Bolton will own your own energy infrastructure in the town. And that revenue, that power purchase agreement you signed with the fund actually is now generating revenue that comes to the town. Part of the way that the fund is structured is that the insurance, the maintenance, management, and eventual decommissioning is all built into this financial structure so that the town does not need to worry about having to build that expertise or having to manage this kind of infrastructure. Because we've put all of our towns together and we're large enough, then we contract with the right management entities that will take care of that for us. So that's the way that it's structured. Shall I keep going? I think I have one more slide, or is it better for me to stop and sort of let you ask me some questions?
Unless Bill has questions, I'm happy to have you continue.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I do have one question, Gina.
Sure.
How much land is required for the solar array? And
Yeah.
does that land have to be positioned close to other infrastructure?
Good question. It will probably be 30 to 40 acres in total to do the full 10 megawatts. They do not need to be all in one place. So in Harvard, we're looking at 3 different parcels that we would use. We're looking at combinations of open space, agriculture land, where they've got extra space on the backsides of farms, municipal building roofs, large structures, parking structures over our high school. So we're looking at sort of a variety of different ways to site the solar. And then as far as the battery storage goes, those we will abut right onto our critical facilities. So those are our fire station, police station, wherever we would be using shelter in case of an emergency. In New England, we know that power does go out around us. We know the town of Littleton was their municipal light plant was hacked and they lost power. So it could be bad actors, it could be a climate event, an ice storm that can take us out for several days. Whether it's the heat of the summer or the middle of the winter, where do we want people to go that they can shelter? We want to keep our water treatment happening. We want to keep our Wi-Fi going. So that's where we would place the battery storage, and those will be hardwired to our facilities so that they will never go down. Does that answer your question, Bill?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great, perfect.
And just to follow up on
Yeah.
that, is part of the feasibility study, looking at those locations within the various towns?
Yeah, that's a really critical part of it, Kate, and that's been the bulk of our discussion in Harvard, actually. And I think, and we have an independent third-party team that we are bringing in to conduct these assessments, and the feasibility studies being conducted across the technology, the geology, our environmental impact, and optimizing our financial structure as well. And what the feasibility study will do, which is really the first step, is to have you give these independent assessors a set of potential sites that you'd like to be considered. And those will get studied over the course of 6, 8, 10 weeks. They'll come back to the town with a full study that is designed to have the town be able to comfortably make a go, no-go decision on whether or not you would like this put into your town. We have applied for a grant, so this is very important. So in the town of Harvard, we applied for a municipal vulnerability grant. And we've included the first 5 towns to sign the consortium. We have 4 signed. I am really hoping that the town of Bolton would like to be the 5th town that will join the consortium. The first 5 towns, we have 2 really promising options. The feasibility study costs $75,000, so it's $375 to study all 5 towns as a virtual power plant and to come back to each of our towns with an assessment for our individual towns as well as the whole consortium together. Coming up with $75,000 is a lot for the town of Harvard. I would imagine it is for the town of Bolton as well. So we applied for a municipal vulnerability grant. We're expecting to hear in the next few weeks whether or not we received it. It is a $5 million grant that we are hoping to apply to the feasibility studies. And what we did was slide the studies so that they would happen in September, which is when we would be getting the green light to use those funds. Should for some reason we not get that grant, my company is going to subsidize 50% of the cost of the feasibility study so that we can bring that number below 50,000. We're learning that towns tend to have a little bit of a slush fund, that this might be helpful to do. We can, together, we go in and we will conduct these feasibility studies. And should you move forward with the project, it will become part of the pre-construction costs for financing, and that will come back to the town. So I just wanted to be very clear that that is an opportunity for our first 5 towns. So we're here tonight. We would love for the select board to vote to sign the memorandum of understanding, which I have sent to Marie, our town administrator. It is non-binding. It is an expression of interest in exploring this opportunity, in conducting a feasibility study. And once that study is complete, the intent is that your town will have an opportunity at your next May annual meeting to vote on a go, no-go decision. And we will work with you between when it starts in September and next May to get all those pieces in place to engage and educate the community. We are working on getting a website for our communities live within the next week or 2. And really have been learning a lot from towns on how to really help engage communities and bring them along with us. So let me stop there. I think that's it. And have you ask me any questions, or I'd love to get gut reactions.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I really appreciate you walking us through it. I had had the opportunity to sit down with you a while ago to go through some of this. And, I think it, as I mentioned at the time, I think it's a very interesting proposal. I think it's something that the town of Bolton should be thinking about. because I think it checks quite a few of our different kind of master plan boxes, you know, climate resiliency and,
Yeah.
you know, some other things that, that I think are consistent with our long-term plans. You know, certainly the finances are, you know, just making sure, you know, because we are tight, you know, financially for sure.
We are too.
You know, I think everybody in Massachusetts is. But, you know, one of our other big goals is to add revenue, which is, you know, hard to do in a town like Bolton. So, you know, I'm certainly interested in hearing more and thinking about it. You know, I'd love to hear what Bill has to say. I am sorry that Brian can't be here tonight because I certainly would have liked his feedback and input as well. But Bill, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting proposal, and I certainly want to look into it more. And Gina, aren't you having some visit to a site coming up?
Yes, and I was hoping that my colleague was going to be here.
I'm here.
Oh, you are great. So this is Shannon Fitzgerald. She is our VP of Public Partnerships and Advocacy. And she has arranged for this really immersive experience on June 8th and can tell you a little about it. And I believe Shannon is the one that sent all of you the invitation.
Yeah, so I think that one of the questions, and apologies, I've had computer issues all day. Glad to be back online. One of the questions that we get a lot is like, well, what does this look like? And I'd like to see it and feel it and really understand how it works. So we wanted to arrange this with our partner Schneider Electric, who has an R&D facility in the town of Andover, Massachusetts. And it's super cool because the facility itself is a working microgrid. So the whole facility itself is kind of a example of what we'd want to do. And it's really an opportunity for you to not only see what this technology looks like, but ask questions of the engineering team, of the Next Gen Energy team, and really just to understand a little bit better of, does this make sense for us to explore more? So as I said, this is going to be on June 8th. It's going to be a nice tour, Q&A, lunch, and we'd really love for the select board to be able to join.
Yep. And
Yeah.
we're hoping that your senators and representatives will also be there. Is Cronin your senator?
Robin
No,
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Kennedy is. So she is being introduced to it now. We have very strong support from Cronin and Eldridge, but we've invited Representative Hogan as well as Senator Kennedy. So we're hoping that they're going to be there as well.
Great. Just so that I make sure I understand, in terms of the grant application that you guys have done, you've done
Yeah.
a $5 million MVP grant application, which is certainly more than would be needed to cover the feasibility study for the 5 towns, but you'd be allocating, assuming the grant goes through, that full amount would be
So
covered.
yeah, so the feasibility study would be covered by the grant. And if for some reason that we don't get the grant, we're really feeling positive that we will get the grant. If for some reason we don't, then we will subsidize 50% of the grant for the first half dozen towns. And it is our way of really trying to make this feasible for our surrounding towns. And should your town vote to move forward, that money will come back to you. The $5 million grant will be used as pre-construction costs. It will be used as the equity that your town puts into the Keep Lights On fund that then is supported by the green banks and other investment partners that we would dig into in a lot more detail in the future. Should you move forward. The idea here is to keep the cash outlay for the towns as minimal as possible, finance what we can, and then we'll pay off those debtors and equity lenders over the first couple of years. And the intent here is that we own our own energy infrastructure. And that's just not been possible before because we're too small. We put ourselves all together, we become investable. And so the structure is allowing us to do that.
Okay, and just one follow-up question on
Sure.
that. Because you said that part of the $5 million grant would go to fund the capital, for the towns. What if that grant doesn't go through? Is there going to be an expectation for a capital contribution from the towns?
We will find another source. We will find another source, but that is the intent for the municipal vulnerability preparedness grant, is to help us truly build this additional resilience and capacity in our towns.
Okay, so the largest possible outlay that you would be looking for from any individual town possibly would be $75,000. That's the max.
Well, 37.5, 37.5.
Because
the first half
your
dozen.
company would pay half. So that is the
Yes.
maximum exposure for the town.
Yes,
of Bolton.
that is the maximum exposure. Yes.
Okay, great.
And how, a non-engineer question, how much is 10 megawatts? What,
So it's likely that your town is probably using about 2 megawatts to run your municipal infrastructure, I'm guessing, but
Okay.
that's been sort of standard. So we will structure so that your municipal infrastructure is covered and build in room for growth over the next 10, 20 years. And the balance of that will become excess energy that you're generating that gets sold into the grid.
and what happens if the rules change as far as what can be sold into the grid?
It will not affect, I want to be really careful here, Bill, because this is not my area of expertise. My understanding is that it will not affect projects that have already been placed in service. I will check that though and confirm that and make sure, because you're right, we're living in a time where permits are revoked and tax credits are changed, and that's been a surprise to a lot of people. I believe when we're placed in service, that structure is cemented, but I will confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Bill?
No, I'm certainly going to try to attend the June 8th event.
Great.
Okay. And I think that we can consider whether we would want to enter into the non-binding memorandum of understanding.
That will secure your spot. And it is non-binding, so I think that would be really welcomed.
Yeah. I'd like to hear from Marie as to whether she has any concerns with
If
considering that tonight.
Yeah, if the non-binding is truly non-binding as stated, it becomes less concerning. Our utilization, we're like a 500,000 kilowatt hour because we're small. And so I worry that we would not be viewed as a great partner. But I'm intrigued by virtue of the feasibility. Our annual electricity spend, both supply and distribution, I was just going to Mass Energy Insight, is about 160,000 a year, all in.
Okay.
So I don't know who the other communities are, but just want to say, we may be one of your smaller communities.
It provides a lot of options for your town. And I think what will happen in the feasibility study is they'll provide options as far as if you would like to power other things in your town. It doesn't have to just be municipal buildings right? It could be areas of residential, it could be affordable housing, it could be other things that you might want to consider. Or you just take the balance and you would sell it into the grid, or you do a slightly smaller grid.
Yeah, and sell it. And then what is your deadline for commitment? As one of the select board members is unfortunately unable to be here tonight.
Yeah, understood. There is no deadline. We are, as far as the benefits of being part of the municipal vulnerability preparedness grant recipients and being part of the subsidy for the feasibility, it's the first 5 towns that come in. So, we wanted to make you're literally our next door neighbor. So we really are excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, and I guess my feeling on it, I mean, I've read the memorandum of understanding pretty carefully. It seems to be 100% non-binding, does not commit the town to anything other than to have basically good faith discussions. It doesn't require any expenditure of money at this point. And Bill, unless you feel differently, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't enter into it at this point. You know, I mean, all of our surrounding towns, we would be an island unto ourselves at this point if we weren't participating. So Bill, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree, and I'm okay with that. I wish Brian was here, but that's I think we could move forward with this.
Okay. Then in that case, if there is not any additional discussion, I would entertain a motion to enter into the non-binding memorandum of understanding with the Massachusetts Keep Lights On initiative.
So moved.
Second, roll call vote, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you guys for presenting it. Thank you for seeking us out and following up with us. And we look forward to hearing from you and working with you going forward.
You will, and we'll see you on the 8th.
Okay, I will
Great.
put it on
Have a
my
good rest
calendar.
of your week. Thank you all so much for your time tonight.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comment. If anyone is here for public comment, please go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know who you are and what you have to say. Seeing no one, we will go on to our next agenda item right on time with our town administrator report.
Not going to read all of this, just pick out a few highlights. For folks who are concerned about the field remediation, I will be speaking with Jim Lambert of Wood Partners. We've been trying to touch base, but I am aware of what needs to be done. I know there'll be a successive meeting at the field by the La Crosse representatives and hope to present him with a scope of work. Temporary disinfection still in process, but it's going to happen. The notable thing is the Forbush culvert appearing later on the agenda based on the vote at town meeting that allowed the select board to accept easements of no charge. Our special act for alcohol is moving slowly, and I'm painfully aware that the legislative session ends at the end of July. It's currently sitting in a House committee, and I need to follow up with Representative Hogan to see what we can do to move this along. This weekend will also ideally be the final weekend of work on the roundabout. So mark your calendars, and then all should be good to go. People have been asking me the follow-up for the articles that were approved at town meeting, just provided on the screen, that there is a procurement process. There are different procurement processes, whether it's for supplies and services or work on a municipal building, and likewise for determining who would be performing the engineering work. We're aware we're going to start moving on those, but we can't just immediately go out and have the DPW painted, say, tomorrow. So it's in process. Wanted to raise the community's attention that next week is the First Responders Appreciation Week as determined by the board at their last meeting. And similar to what Kate had mentioned, I wanted to acknowledge the hard work that was done by the town clerk, her staff, and the many town staff whose efforts made the town meeting run smoothly. Likewise, wanted to commend the treasure collector for organizing a great retirement party for a retiring accountant. Later on the agenda, you'll see a request to appoint a contracted accounting firm on a month-to-month basis. As some background, they're currently working for 25 towns in Massachusetts, currently serving as the town accountant in 18 towns. The police department continues their background for a conditional offer, and they're hoping should all go well, and the return of a member who is on deployment in December, they would be fully staffed. Jenny and I had the opportunity today to attend an event that the COA had compiled for a series of events, starting with breakfast, going through basically afternoon to celebrate the Older Americans Month. It was a great effort and a truly lovely thing. I realize that I've been silent on Park and Rec. They are continuing their signups. Their numbers are slightly ahead of last year. They'd also been contracted with a company, they had contracted with a company to offer a program called Sports Tots, which are you might see occurring on Wednesdays and Fridays on the town common. And they have a whole bunch of dates of note. This weekend, this is the same day as the youth baseball opening day. They're sponsoring a sports equipment exchange. Then obviously the Memorial Day events, and on the next select board meeting date, they're having another community walking group at 10 a.m. at the town common. Hope that folks can attend and start marking their calendars. Realize also that the website transition, the long-awaited and much worked on, has occurred. It has required ongoing work by staff because items that were told would be migrated did migrate, but their functionality did not fully transfer as we had anticipated and potentially as we had been promised. So it is requiring a fair deal of work, again led by Jenny, to troubleshoot and to resolve things. On the financial front, you may have heard that there's additional unrestricted government aid, general government aid, UGA, coming to communities, and indeed our estimated receipts have increased by 47K. Realize, though, that there is going to be the House and Senate consolidated set of meetings before we receive our unrestricted aid. This is based on a per capita. When I had spoken with Senator Kennedy, who was at the COA event today, she said they'll also be setting up a coalition to determine the most equitable way for the distribution of said aid. I've been working with Bob Guerrera for a timeline, knowing that the board is going to be coming up with its set meeting schedule for reserve fund transfers and then our required end of year transfers. For Bill, predominantly, I provided a link to the Commonwealth see-through account, which will let you see every dollar coming from the state to the town. But I'm keeping an eye predominantly on our cannabis. We are projecting about 66K this year. It looks like what we'll be receiving is about half that. Additionally, in conjunction with the temporary use of the outsourced accountant, working on drafting a letter for boards and departments just to accommodate some of the constraints of not having a staff member in-house who's super duper responsive, as well as setting some restrictions on spending just to streamline our end of year, having hard cutoffs for discretionary spending and harder cutoffs for non-discretionary spending versus, if possible, taking it right up to the end of the fiscal year. The school district has postponed the meeting on the wastewater treatment fund, the memorandum of agreement for the intermunicipal services. But I'll be speaking with Kirk and Ross next Tuesday. And then all communities, seemingly, there's MMA webinar heavily attended called Managing Your Budget Without an Override, which sounds very, very cheery, but the slant was managing your budget when your override has failed. I'm very glad that we are not in that position, but it did focus on a lot of the broader economic uncertainties everyone is facing and started to broach the need to rethink or think differently about all communities' long-term service delivery. So that's what I've been doing.
All right. Well, thank you, Marie. Bill, any questions on the town administrator report?
2 questions. Is Forbush Mill going to be closed on Saturday? The top end, the 117 end?
That end of Forbush for the painting?
Yes.
Let me confirm that. I do not know. I know it's the second half, the unpainted half. So, and that is the side.
And
Far bush.
do you know if there's a recording of that MMA webinar?
Yes, there is, and I can send you the link.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Grandy.
All right. Moving on to select board business. Bill, do you have any public service announcements?
I do not.
Okay, I do not have any either. So let's move on to a discussion of setting future meeting dates. Jenny, I'm not sure if do we have a list of proposed dates, or are we just going to sort of walk through the calendar?
Yes, I have the list of proposed dates. Hang on.
Okay. Okay. So this is more consistent with prior years where we've gone down to one meeting during the summer months. I think last year Brian and I powered through with 2 meetings each each month. But I think we're probably in a place where we can have our regular schedule. I know Brian had indicated that he would not be available on June 25th. So yeah, I would be okay with doing one meeting in June. And we could add a date if we needed. Marie, do you think we need 2 meetings in June?
At this time, I'm not seeing the need for 2 meetings in June, although there will need to be a brief end of year meeting tentatively slated for July 14th. That's a Tuesday off cycle with advisory.
Right. I've got that on my calendar, so that's fine. Bill, do you have any conflicts with any of these days that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of now.
Okay.
So Kate, are you suggesting keeping the June 11th, or are you suggesting a June 18th in the middle of the 2 proposed dates?
I don't really have a strong preference one way or the other. I mean, why don't we plan on the 18th? That way we're not going too many weeks without meeting. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the meeting dates through the end of calendar year 2026 as set forth on the screen?
So moved.
I will second that. Roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. All right. Any future agenda items, Bill?
None from me, no.
Okay. Any select board reports?
No.
All right, then we are on to appointing a new building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer effective June 1. Marie?
Certainly. Although I had announced at the last meeting as part of my TA update that our assistant inspector had taken a full-time position in another community, further conversations indicated that Chris Rogers it would be available to serve as our building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer. So I'd encourage the board to appoint Chris this evening, effective June 1.
Hi, Chris. I did not see you there.
I figured I'd just be here just in case anyone had any questions.
Well, thank you for being willing to work around your new gig and still be able to do this with Bolton. We appreciate it. Bill, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you, Chris.
Happy to be here.
All right. In that case, is there a motion to appoint Chris Rogers as the building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer effective June 1st, 2026?
So moved.
And I will second that. Roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes.
Very good.
Congratulations, Chris, and thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll see you
Thanks,
around the
Chris.
hall soon.
Okay.
All right, see you later.
All right, and in a somewhat similar vein, our next item is the appointment of a temporary town accountant. Marie, do we have anybody here from?
We do not.
Okay.
They had stated they could be present, but we had their background information. This is for a temporary accountant of the firm itself, not just one lone individual, and that would be effective May 11th. And in part, the reason that it's a retroactive effective date is to reflect their involvement in the compilation of the bills payable warrant and the payroll warrant and their statutory signature on what you will see should you approve the warrants later on tonight.
Got it. Okay. Bill, any questions?
No.
Okay, so is there a motion to appoint Eric A. Kinscherf, CPA LLC as the temporary town accountant effective May 11th, 2026?
So moved.
I will second that. Roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. All right, and next up, Bill, I think is your request on regarding leash issues and restrictions at Bower Spring.
Yes.
You wanna let us know what you're looking for?
I just to be kept in the loop on what they're planning in the process and what the process would be to get public comment. It is a controversial issue on both sides, and it's one that I have heard from people repeatedly on. So I just would like for the select board to stay informed on what is happening there.
Okay, so is it just a request for Concom to provide an update after they've kind of come up with a game plan?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think that we can, I'm sure we can get timely updates from them. I'm aware that it's an active issue and it's been sort of an ongoing controversial issue for a lot of years. So
Yeah, I was asked because I just went through a campaign, I was asked quite a bit about it, and I don't have those answers, and I would like to be able to speak intelligently on what's going on there.
okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think we can have a conversation with the conservation agent and just get an update when they can come and give an update, maybe Marie, whenever they've got some substantive progress to report. The next item on the agenda is the town building task force discussion. So I'm not sure who put together the draft, but thank you to whoever it is who did it. Was that Marie?
It was Jenny.
It was
Wow, amazing.
Jenny, thank you. So this is following up on something that was discussed at town meeting, which is the need to do sort of a full assessment about Town Hall and Houghton Building and what their futures are with the town of Bolton, whether it be to repair, rehabilitate, or to potentially sell them due to their condition and look at leasing space. And Brian Boyle had done a presentation at town meeting to talk about, asking for volunteers for the task force. So, this would be, the idea would be to get a bunch of our citizens involved in the task force for making recommendations and reporting to the select board so that we can make recommendations to the town and kind of bring this forward at a future town meeting to make some decisions about these buildings. So I had just some language changes, Bill. Did you want to discuss kind of substantively any major concerns with the draft here?
I thought the draft looked very good. So I didn't see anything that any big changes that were needed.
Yeah, I just had some minor wording changes. And Jenny, in the 5th line where it says the committee, I think we would want it to say the task force. And the same thing in mission. Under inventory conditions, review existing conditions of each, I wouldn't say vacated, I would just say each facility. And then on the recommendation and final report section on the next page. In the first bullet point, prepare a draft report, I would say, and the task force's recommendations, not necessarily their preferred recommendations. I would take out preferred. And the same comment on final deliverable, that last bullet point in that same section, I would take out the word preferred. Those were my only comments other than, and I don't really have a viewpoint, but just did want to bring it up for discussion. Whether it would be appropriate to have a select board representative on this committee as well. So Bill, I'd be curious as to what your thoughts are. I don't really have a viewpoint one way or the other.
Are you suggesting as a voting member or non-voting?
As an additional voting member.
I don't think it would be required as long as we were receiving the reports.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel strongly about it one way or the other, but I did just want to raise whether it would be important to have the select board member on. But I think this is a very good mix of stakeholders and people with real expertise, who would be serving on the committee. So any other questions or discussions, Bill?
No.
Then is there a motion to approve the town building task force charge as set forth on the screen?
So moved.
I will second that. Roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So I think the process, oh, go ahead, Marie.
Oh, so would the intent be to, obviously we'll go through the usual channels, but for the select board appointments to occur at your meeting in June?
I think that makes sense just because I don't know how many statements of interest we're going to get.
Okay.
And my thought would be to have a deadline maybe of May 25th for expressions of interest. And that way, if necessary, we can have a discussion at our next meeting on the 28th as to whether we need to do interviews for that, or, how we would, if we have 30 people express interest, I think we need to have further discussion about how we're going to make appointments. If we have a more limited pool of people, and we do already have, I think, at least 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 people who have expressed interest, and we haven't even announced it publicly. So, well, I mean,
Outside of town meeting.
we haven't advertised it. So, I think there will be a lot of interest, and we'll just need to figure out a path forward for how to make those appointments. So I think, the appointments in June.
Expression by the 25th. Okay.
All right. Next up is the security camera policy discussion and possible vote. So this is something that we had reviewed at our last meeting, and we had held it for further discussion. I've been able to go through it in a fair degree of detail and have some kind of wording changes and revisions, minor, I think. But Bill, do you have any comments or, kind of large substantive concerns over the policy in general?
No, I do have one follow-up question, Marie. So the video is not going to be cloud-based, but it's going to be on a server, correct?
It will be on a server, yes.
And where is that server?
At the disparate sites wherever
Wherever the security cameras are?
Yes.
And
well, there is not one server per each camera, but they are physically located in Bolton's municipal buildings.
okay, and those would still be those computers would still be secure
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay. I just wanted to maybe tighten up a little bit of the language. Jenny, are you able to bring up the draft? So on the first page under general principles, in that first sentence, the town will operate video surveillance systems in a manner that respects individual privacy to the, I would like to insert, maximum extent practicable.
I'm sorry, Kate, in the first sentence of general principles?
Yeah, at the very
maximum.
end of the first line, the last
What line number?
first line.
First line,
Yeah,
individual privacy to the, oh, I
maximum
see.
extent practicable.
Okay.
And then down 2 lines from that, where it says, and uses recordings primarily for investigative, evidentiary. I'd like to take out the word primarily.
Okay.
And under number 4 for monitoring, the first sentence, video surveillance systems are not to be actively monitored.
Okay.
And the paragraph immediately after that says the system shall not be used. I'd like it to say the system shall never be used for casual observation. I do, most of my changes are designed specifically to assure people that
Privacy.
that this is being used for proper purposes. And then down on number 8 for data retention. And this is this is more of a question before I make any suggested changes, where it says recordings are typically retained for approximately 30 days. Are we able to set a more specific parameter by, recordings shall be retained for at least 30 days, after which they may be overwritten? I just would,
Okay. But if there is an actual need for preservation, if there is an incident investigation, then they would not be overwritten.
correct.
Yeah,
Right, so if they're typically retained for at least 30 days,
yeah.
and then after which they may be overwritten or deleted.
Okay.
Could we
that
use,
correct?
Yeah,
could
perfect.
we use, recordings are typically retained for no more than 30 days unless absent a specific need for preservation?
Yeah, that would be fine as well.
Bill, could you give me the second half of that again, after which?
That's perfect right there, Jenny, because I skipped around in the sentence order, so that reads correctly.
Okay.
Okay, and that was all that I had. No, I'm sorry, I did have a final change on number 10, oversight. I'd like to strike the or designee. I'd like it to remain with the town administrator. Okay. All right, does that look okay to you, Bill, at this
It
point?
does. Yeah, it
All
does.
right, then is there a motion to approve the town of Bolton video surveillance policy?
So moved.
Second, roll call, Bill,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. This feels like a very long agenda tonight. All right, next up is the discussion on the 1-year bond anticipation note.
Yes, and before I begin, I wanted to say that the DPW director responded, yes, there will be a news blast going out tomorrow, but heading north, the road will be closed at the transfer station. So if you're going to the transfer station, you head west on 117, turn left on Still River, go towards Lancaster, and you enter Forbush from there.
Similar traffic flow as when the
Similar as
culvert
when the
was done.
culvert, yes.
That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
So, for the ban discussion, I just wanted to provide a little bit of background. As the Unibank representative had stated, the select board vote is not required, but I will be needing your signatures in June, on June 1st, if you have availability. We typically, by virtue of having a stable tax base and a manageable debt profile, we use something called BANs, bond anticipation notes, to finance our debt. What those are is it's a short-term borrowing strategy. And so what happens with a BAN is that every year we typically roll them forward through refinancing. Following the town meeting authorization for the debt for the design and engineering of the permanent disinfection, we'll be making a pay down of our principal. It's about 303,000, and we'll have then our existing debt to renew, including the 125,000. We're planning, in conjunction with the treasurer, of releasing a bid sheet on the 21st and hoping that individuals still love Massachusetts municipal bonds. The reason we've been going through a Massachusetts municipal debt, basically, the reason we've been going through a series of bans, and I think select board members are used to coming in and you have to sign, is because converting our debt to a bond does incur some level of cost. We're kind of in a in-between spot. We have $1.1 million in debt. we aren't, at the 3 million where the security of a long-term bond interest rate makes sense. We're also in sort of a wacky period, though. For the past decade, short-term borrowing has always been dramatically cheaper than long-term borrowing. But you've likely heard, the yield curve is reversed, and there's a limited gap between how much it costs or how much the interest rates are between short-term borrowing and long-term borrowing. And right now, short-term rates are unusually volatile. So there used to be an advantage of repeatedly rolling our bands over. That advantage is smaller than it used to be. The one thing we don't want to do is be financing our long-term debt at the short-term volatile rates. But that's a future strategy. Right now, our band outlook and the numbers that you saw in the warrant booklet for our band debt and interest, since it's always rolled forward, we were carrying about 3.5% as an interest rate. Checking in terms of the projections, it does look like, we would, with our issuance on the 21st, be getting something between 2.5 to 3.5. So wanted to give the board a heads up, though, there would be a need to have the select board members come in and sign documents. You will know as of your next meeting on the 28th, what our rate is and what we received on the bid sheet. And it's just sort of a little, public service announcement that the treasurer and I are continuing to work with our advisors to try to pursue the most sustainable path forward.
Okay, thank you.
It's
All
not the
right.
most exciting thing, but it's critical. So
It is a critical thing. So thank you for that update.
all right.
Our next agenda item, we are going to defer to our next meeting. That is the easement deed with Chiodo LLC. That has not been signed yet by Mr. Chiodo, so we will hold that until our next meeting. Marie, are we all set on that? Has that been reviewed by council on our end?
Yes, that was generated by council. Yeah.
Okay, so we're all set.
Yes.
Okay, so the last thing on our agenda, because we do not have any minutes tonight, is bills and payroll warrants. Is there a motion to approve bill and payroll warrants W 26-24?
23.
25-24.
No, it's W 26.
23. Yeah.
Oh, dash 23.
23. Yeah. Fiscal 26, number 23.
Okie dokie. Is there a motion to approve W 26-23?
So moved.
And I am a second. Roll call. Bill?
Yes.
And I am also yes. All right, and that is the end of our agenda. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, roll call. Bill?
Yes.
And I am also a yes.
Good night, everyone.